Hello and welcome to Sharp Ends. Today I've got a review for you of Spyderco, the brand. Now, my gateway drug into getting into knives was Spyderco. And although they're not my favorite brand at the moment, spoiler alert, it's probably ProTech or Three Rivers Manufacturing, but they still hold a very special place in my heart. And I've owned the most amount of Spydercos, and I still own the most amount of Spydercos in my entire collection. So this is currently what I have. I have probably owned a total of 20 Spydercos, and this is what I currently have. I don't go out of my way to buy them, but sometimes something comes up that I just have to get, and I get it. Where to start? Well, the very first Spyderco I ever got was called a Tenacious. And I had Tenaciouses for several years, on and off, probably about 12 years before I really got into knives. Now, they're made out of 8 CRV M1916, whatever, alphabet soup steel, right? At least it has a name on it. Very easy to sharpen, goes dull kind of fast, rusts if you take it into the water. And then I started looking up other knives. I saw some things like the Paramilitary 2, and I think the very next knife I ended up getting was actually a Salt, because I go into the ocean a lot, and I do a lot of sailing and kayaking and stuff. So I got a Salt, and that was made out of H1 steel. And then from there, I started reading articles about that steel, and I was like, oh, this isn't necessarily a really great steel. And that led me down the rabbit hole to where I started buying more and more knives. So I guess first I'm going to talk about the ultimate classic, probably, of what everyone considers, the classic Spyderco. So at the outset, I should say these knives that I have, a lot of them are exclusives, or they're builds that I did. A couple of them are builds that I did, or they're classic Spyderco designs. All of these there's so many Spydercos out there that if your thing is taking something apart and changing it and modifying it, putting on new scales like this, playing around with your first anodizing, I anodize this, getting a new ball cage, trying out other anodization techniques, changing out the ball to a ceramic ball, putting on a new clip and also anodizing that, and just making it your own. Well, Spyderco's a knife for you. So easy to customize on your own at home with a few basic tools, right? This is a Mannix 2. This knife will cut cardboard all day long. S30V steel on this one. So, and the other good thing about Spyderco is that their heat treatments are always very, very, very good. Most reliable heat treat probably of any major manufacturer. They also have a tendency to play with or get new steels and incorporate them and come out with cool stuff. I don't have necessarily the widest collection of different kinds of steel for my Spydercos, but I know a lot of people do, and that's something they like about them. There are people who pretty much exclusively collect Spydercos, and I can see why. There's so much variation. So you have something like this. It's got a lot of gription, a lot of ways that you can grab it and hold it, and all this jimping. The ergos are great, and that's another thing about Spydercos is everyone always says Spyderco's ergos are amazing. The number one feature you can pretty much tell a Spyderco immediately from, besides this spider, is the hole. The Spidey hole, makes it easy to flick open. So you can do the Spidey flick, which is with your middle finger, and you just flick it open. And then you can also do it with your thumb. I'm not as good with my thumb or doing it with a Mannix, also with a camera right there. I can do it easier with something like, I don't even have all my Spydercos here. Oh yeah, here's another one. It's in my pocket. Hey, why is that in my pocket? Because I still use them. This is the closest thing I have to the Tenacious, by the way. So you've got the hole here. You can flick it open with your thumb and your finger. This has a back lock. Very, very sturdy lock. This is a cross between a Delica, which is probably their most popular model, and the Endura, which is a very large knife. So this is a medium-sized knife, and you can see I have grit on it because I use it a lot. This is a work knife. One of the very first knives I ever customized. I got this I'm blanking on the name of this material right now. But I got this micarta, thank you, this denim micarta from Ukraine about a year ago. And I had to wait a long time. I got it on Etsy, and I got it from them. This was an exclusive in 20 CV. And yeah, I put on, got some clips and I changed it up and I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool. And this became my work knife. And soon after that, I started buying all these knives. I've been collecting knives seriously, for about a year now. So, the knives I buy and I sell them here and there, usually at a loss, but just so that I can feel them and get my hands on them. But these are the ones that are still in my collection. So this here is the Indela. I'm going to go through these real fast and talk a little bit about each of them. So the Paramilitary 2 is probably one of their most famous designs. This has a lock on it, and this is usually the locks don't have this little piece of plastic right here. That's an extra add-on. You'll see it usually just has this kind of back. This lock here, you just squeeze it. When you open it, it engages back here, and when you push this button, it closes, right? This is fat carbon, and the blade is M4, CPM M4, so a very tough steel. This is kind of a princess for me. I don't really use this knife. The blade is a little dirty, so I have used it a few times, but really this is just a pretty knife that I like to carry. And it's very flickable. Again, ergos are amazing. The action is incredible. It drops shut when you push the knife. That's another good thing about these locks. The compression lock, sorry. This is called a compression lock. Right, very easy to flick open. So Paramilitary 2, then the smaller cousin of the Paramilitary 2, and this is the lightweight version of it, is the PM3, Paramilitary 3. You can see it still has a compression lock, but it's just smaller, slightly smaller in every dimension. This is the 4V version of it. So this is a steel that you would find usually on a fixed blade, but it's in this Paramilitary 2. And this is not necessarily a Safe Queen, but I don't necessarily carry it that often, but it's super light, which is great. So this is a knife that I would carry around if I'm wearing just gym shorts or something like that. Very famous designer made this knife, Schlisch. You might have heard of the Schlisch Bowie, which is a grail knife for a lot of people. They stopped making it. Well, he also designed this. It's the Spidey Chef, very special steel called LC200N. This has kind of a different profile. You can't really flick this knife open with your finger, but you can, and again, this is really hard with the camera right here. You can flip it open with your thumb when you get used to it. LC200N, why is that special? Well, it's almost entirely rust-proof. I would say it's entirely rust-proof. You can put this in the ocean in a bucket of salt water, walk away, come back, there's going to be no rust on it. This is titanium handles here. You can see this profile for this. This is really made for being a kitchen, camp kitchen kind of knife, and that's how I use it, honestly. When I go sailing, this is in my my kitchen kit. Very useful to have around to cook with. It won't rust. I can take it out into the ocean. It's great. So not necessarily a knife for everyone unless you really like the designs of it. I do know a lot of people who EDC this every single day because they just like the profile and they like the way that it feels. It has a frame lock. So the frame has a little piece of metal here. It does not have an overstop, I believe, which means that you could potentially try to bend this over here and then it wouldn't gauge well, but I've never seen that happen or heard about it happening in this particular design. So that's the Spidey Chef, Paramilitary 2, Paramilitary 3. I've talked about the Mannix 2. This is the Endura, and this is a very large knife. They have larger knives like the Police, but this is one of the first knives I also got, and I really like the large blade on this for my work situation, which is as a technician in theater. Nice big blade. Honestly, this blade shape and size is a little bit nicer, and these are the same family. A little bit nicer to carry. This is just a little bit shorter, and it has the back lock as well. But I like this a lot, and this, again, this is one of the first knives. This is another knife that I customized. Again, these knives are all great to customize. You see it has a spider web handles, and then you've got the little spider in the center. cool little design feature. So that's my Spidey knife. I like that a lot. These scales are really grippy and ergodynamic. Very nice. And then I think I will talk about my smallest knife here. This was St. Nick's exclusive. This is called the Jester. It's really small, and I keep it on my keychains on my keychain, as you can imagine. A back lock, and it's got absurdly 4V steel. So who needs a little knife like this made out of have 4V on it? I have no idea, but apparently I do because I love it. This is super sharp. I mean, super, super, super sharp. All my knives are sharp because I have a sharpening system, but this little Jester, I mean, if I'm just caught out with my keys and I didn't bring a pocket knife, this is going to do just fine. And it's a super tough steel because it's 4V. That's a cool little exclusive that I got. And then my latest Spyderco knife, I was like, I don't need any more Spydercos. I just don't need any more Spydercos. I've had a lot of Spydercos. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Spydercos. Do I really need an eighth? And then this exclusive came up, and I've been hearing about the Shaman forever, about its ergodynamics, how well it feels. It's got a compression lock, which I love. It's got the same kind of feel to it, almost as a Manix, as far as like how the blade shape interacts with the handle. I'll show you if I can see what I mean. It's just made for slicing all day long, right? Now the Manix, obviously the lock it has is based off of the Bug Outs. The Bug Outs lock, but this has got the compression lock, which I like, I think, even more. This isn't broken in yet, so I can't flick it at all, and I probably am going to take this apart, clean it, put it back together again, and oil it. So this is the Shaman, and this is 204P. The big three steels are made by Boimler, which is 309, M309. And then the American version of that is 20CV, which I've showed you some other 20CV. And then Carpenter, which is another steel company, makes 204P, which is basically got the same chemistry, but it's much more rare. And people swear by 204P. I thought I would just go ahead and get it. I really like the green scales. I mean, this green hand, I'm a sucker for green. And they feel really nice. It's G10, super contoured though. Like this PM2, very nice looking, also green, right? But you don't have rounded edges here on this fat carbon. And it feels nice. It's totally fine. Don't get me wrong. It's not uncomfortable. The corners are chamfered, but this is totally rounded, fits in the hand. You can do fist grip or hammer grip. You can choke up on it. It's made for choking up. This is made for slicing. You can take this out, and because of the compression lock and how good it is, you can EDC this in a camping situation. I would do some light batoning with this without any fear. I wouldn't necessarily baton through something much bigger than, a little stick, just because like to play it safe. But I could certainly make fiddlesticks with this. I could certainly use this for carving or any kind of survival situation that doesn't involve batoning necessarily. But then again, this back lock, I would certainly baton with this back lock some somewhat larger stuff. No problem there. This isn't going to break. So overall, what do I think about Spyderco? Spyderco is a very easy entry point. If you're going to get into knives and you're looking to expand your collection and learn a little bit about customization and you want to take stuff apart and put it back together again, I'd go with Spyderco. Now, one annoying thing about Spyderco is that if you take your knife apart, it voids the warranty. So I will throw that out there. However, I've never had a problem with a Spyderco knife. Their quality control is really good. I will also say that these are made in a couple of different factories. There's one in Japan, there's one in Colorado Springs, and there's one in Taiwan. So this one's made in Taiwan, Taixing, Taiwan. This factory, the Taiwan factory, is known for being the best factory, the highest tolerances. So knives from here are usually the most expensive, and they're also usually the best. The American-made knives are considered the next greatest. Is this, yeah, Colorado Springs, Planet, USA. So this is the next best factory, and if you like getting American-made stuff, and who doesn't like rooting for their home team, then you can get American-made Spydercos. And then the Japanese, let's see, this is a Japanese, I believe. Yeah, Seki City. So those are their main three factories. They're known for their mid-range stuff or low-range stuff, but they still, this is 20 CV, but usually most of their cheaper knives are going to come from Japan. Their quality control is probably the least tight, but that is better than more than 70% of every other knife factory, saying that Japan's is the least best quality control out of their three main factories doesn't mean much because you're still going to get a quality knife out of Japan. So yeah, usually the knives out of Japan are my beaters. So this is one of my beaters. This is one of my beaters. And then the things out of America are kind of my everyday carry stuff. And then my specialty stuff is going to come from Taiwan. That's my overview of Spyderco. I don't know what else I should say or could say other than I think that you should check them out if you're new to the knife world. And if you are still here and you're old to the knife world or medium aged as I am, then everything I just said you already know. And thank you for sticking to the end with me. If you disagree with anything I said or you think I should have added something, please leave a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'd really enjoy sharing more content with you like this. I'm not monetized. I don't make any money. I just do this for fun. So all I do it for is a couple of likes and a couple of subscribers. So please, if you get a chance, do that. Thanks so much for joining me here at Sharp Ends. I really enjoyed talking to you guys today about Spyderco, and I'll see you next time. Bye.